Hey everyone, welcome to Make Bank with Mia Banks. This podcast is intended to promote conversation among females regarding finance, the stock market, investments, and more. I'm Mia Banks, and I'll be your host. Hey everyone, welcome to Make Bank with Mia Banks. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. Joining me is Angela Miles. Let me briefly tell you a little bit about Angela. Angela graduated from Michigan State University, getting a degree in communications. Angela was a reporter and anchor in TV news, working in several media markets as a reporter and an anchor in Michigan and Chicago. She spent her last 14 years connecting with viewers as a host, anchor, and reporter of various business newses, including the popular daily morning show Business First. Welcome to Make Bank with Mia Banks. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, hey, thanks so much. And I'm so excited that you watch my show and you're learning from my show, because that's what my show is all about, teaching everyday Americans about their money, because no matter your age or where you come from, you can always learn about money.
And literally your show has been such an inspiration to me, and part of the reason, honestly, why I decided to do this podcast and kind of talk to the younger generation and the girls, which is our audience. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about women in finance and where we are today. Angela, you've been reporting business news for 14 years now and conducting various interviews. With what you have, what have you observed about how women are doing today in the financial world?
Well, the biggest thing I have to talk about with you is what happens on the trading floor, because that's really where I film my show and where I started my first financial newscasting was at the Chicago Board Options Exchange, CME Group, Mercantile. And the first thing you notice, not a lot of women. You can probably count them on one, maybe both hands altogether out of all those exchanges. I mean, it's pretty bad. So, it really, for the most part, is a man's world on trading floors still. There's been times when there have been more women. And I think there was actually, long before I was in the business, there were some women who were trading on the floor. There was a group of women, and one of them was Carolyn Leonard. She's just legendary because she and a few other women had to really fight for their space on the trading floor. So back in the day, trading floors were very packed with a lot of traders buying and selling options. And she actually told me that there were points when she wouldn't be getting business from some of the men, because you need to make a market, right? You need someone to buy or sell from you, and they would never acknowledge her. But she really became very forceful with how she would cry out in the crowd, and sometimes even use, I think this might be true, but the back of her heels to kind of, let people know she was there on the trading floor.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Some other women too, like Virginia McGathy, she's on my show sometimes, and she trades commodities, mostly the grains market. So like wheat, soybeans, and corn. She's also legendary, and she just does an amazing job, and everybody takes her very, very seriously. As far as Wall Street, we just had the first female CEO come on board, Jane Fraser at Citigroup. And that only happened, I think, within the past year. So other than that, it was just completely men. I know some places have initiatives, such as Goldman Sachs is doing something called 10,000 Women, and they're trying to help more women entrepreneurs start up their own companies. JP Morgan, I think they said that they have 50% women now. Goldman Sachs is trying to get more recruits. They want half of their recruiting classes when they bring in these brand new bankers to be women. So changes have happened a lot, I would say, in the past couple of years. You have Mary Barra running GM just terrifically well. Among the Fortune 500, there are only about 38 women leading Fortune 500 companies. So that is only like 8.2% or something, I think. So really, really low number. So we have a lot of work to do. And that's where you come in. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, so you see these women kind of emerging into higher positions. What would you say is the main benefit, the most important thing of seeing women representation having these higher positions in the financial investment world? Like, how to you is that extremely important? Because I know for me, it's important to see representation because it makes me feel like I can do it too. I don't know if you feel the same way, or what is most important to you about seeing more female representation in higher positions.
I think that's very true. I think just knowing that it's even a possibility. One of the organizations that I work with, it's a charity group called Greenwood Project, and you might know the Greenwood story. Greenwood was a district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the early 1900s, where there were just a lot of very entrepreneurial and wealthy and doing just great Black community. And it was basically the Black Wall Street. Sadly, it was burned down by some very not so nice people. But in Chicago now, we have an organization that started, it's called the Greenwood Project. And they bring in people who would never have an opportunity. So what they do is they go to high schools and colleges, and they find people who have a lot of potential, people who could work on Wall Street, no problem. But because of where they come from, they would never get that opportunity. So they'll bring them to different firms, different trading firms and financial firms, and get these young kids coming in as interns, and then they can actually be around this environment and think that maybe I could do this. But the biggest thing, it's just uncovered this amazing talent that nobody
Right.
was tapping into, right? Because
There's
I've actually worked with some of them. I've had some of them intern with me, and I'm just floored by how just smart and eager to learn and able to just get along in any environment. These young people who are coming up. So Greenwood Project is doing an amazing job, but you're right. It's all about the environment. If you grow up and you're used to being around your parents' friends who are bankers, then it's not a big deal to you. But if you grow up in an area where maybe that doesn't happen every day, and you're in an area where people are just trying to make ends meet every day, it might not seem like it's possible. But that doesn't mean that you can't, because you can. And there's a lot of smart people
right.
here in the United States, who are just overlooked, and it's very sad.
Yeah. And something else is that I think that media almost can be a little bit deceiving because when you look at TV and you look at the people who are kind of broadcasted as the smart people and the people who are shown as being extremely highly intelligent, a lot of them unfortunately look the same. They don't really look like the vast majority of people in America, and that kind of gives off the wrong impression that not everyone, that only these certain types of people are the people of intelligence, but they're just the ones who have the opportunities to be out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they actually obtain all of that knowledge and that they have something else that no one else does. So, I don't know, you brought up a really interesting point.
Well, this is my whole premise too. I'm not. A couple things have happened in my career that it really don't happen to everybody. They don't. But the main thing is, as far as skin color goes, I'm very much about, the best person should get the job, right? No matter, it shouldn't matter what the color of your skin is. But the biggest thing I think that we do not understand in this country is there is so much room at the top. And we have to start believing in abundance. We have to start believing that a lot of people can be great, not just a few. So I think we put all these up because people are like, oh, I got to get mine. And there's this greed mentality. But there's actually so many opportunities where people could be doing things. So I think we have to kind of change our mindset, to the fact that there's an abundance and there's just a lot of people can do a lot of great things. The other thing for me, what I found working on the trading floor is, I always had a mindset of why not? I never saw myself as different. I never saw myself as, oh, I don't fit here. Even though I was a woman and a minority on the trading floor, two things were against me. It just didn't dawn on me. I didn't see myself that way. So therefore, people reacted to me just as a person and nothing, because I really just didn't allow it to even be an issue with them. And if they had an issue with me, I just kind of kept going and just didn't pay attention. I kind of went in with blinders. And I noticed that that really worked for me. I can't say that's going to work for everybody, but I just saw myself as a worker and nothing more. And so it didn't matter, my gender or my race or anything like that.
Right. And I think that seeing you on TV, I mean, being a female, being a person of color for a ton of people is, I mean, myself included, is so inspiring and something that really makes me want to go after my own dreams and aspirations, because when you see someone represented who kind of looks like you or who is similar to you, you think, oh, well, I can do this myself, especially seeing females for me, and I bet for you, I mean, that's how I personally feel.
And it's so funny because that's not even how I see myself. I just see myself as like doing this
Yeah.
job for everybody,
Right.
I'm just there to help every single person on this planet with their money.
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad
And it's,
I'm so glad it's inspirational because that's purely God in my life, just, using his light to shine through me, and it's attracting people. But I can't take credit for that. I just go in every day and do what I feel like I think I'm led to do. And it's working. So I love it.
100%. It is so working. It is so working. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about how you made the shift from general news to business news, because I know that you were kind of in the general news business and then now you kind of shifted to the business end of things. What sparked that for you?
Well, I spent a lot of time as an anchor, mostly in my career. And then I was a reporter at WGN TV News in Chicago. And I covered a lot of murders and fires, a lot. And it was, I was glad to do the job. I've appreciated and been grateful for every single job I've ever had in my lifetime. But I think I always felt like there has to be something more. I guess after doing it for a long time too, because I had been an anchor a lot, I had been an anchor a long time before I actually had that job. I can't really explain it to you, but I had this like restlessness. And so I started just watching CNBC a lot and just absorbing it. And people kept telling me this, and it's so true. Business news is just, or learning business is just a different language. You just have to learn the words and what they mean, and then you can kind of conquer it. So I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And I went to the library and got some books. And actually, no, I went to the Barnes and Noble and read them for free. Now, I know I bought a couple of books. I did about just Wall Street words, or just learning the markets, and started reading a lot of newspapers. And I just learned it. But I think it was just the desire to do something else. And I knew I had to go beyond just general news reporting. It all plays a role, though, in what I'm doing. All of that time has helped me with what I'm doing now. So it was very much time well spent doing all that general assignment, because I was in neighborhoods around Chicago and meeting a lot of different people at a lot of different levels. And that helps me tremendously with what I do every day now.
Right. And you're also a business owner.
Right?
I am.
So,
I am.
how, so
Well,
If you don't want to talk about that, we don't have to.
no. It's a great story, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. I left WGN and I was actually out of work for a while. They did not renew my contract, which I did not mind, because I felt like I had done everything. I was not, it was very clear to me I was not going to be an anchor there. I was always going to pretty much be a reporter, and I wanted to get back to anchoring. And so I was very fortunate that I was hired by a company. It was an online company called WebFN, and it was a great concept. It was just ahead of its time. WebFN was basically CNBC, except it was online all the time. And it was also on TV, something that CNBC was not doing. CNBC was only on TV. So it was a great way to compete against CNBC. But the only problem was WebFN was ahead of its time. It started up in the .com bomb. And this was back in the day. If you were doing live streaming, the station had to pay for it. Like right now, like when you click on a video, you don't pay for that. But back in the day, it was the other way around. So the business model was just a little bit off, a little bit too ahead of its time, and that failed. And so they did say one thing, which was a show called First Business. And so I was able to get a job with First Business, and it was this half-hour business show similar to what you see now. And the station that owned First Business decided to cancel the show. They didn't want to do it anymore for various business reasons on their end. And so I was basically out of a job, and I turned to the crew and I said, what do you think about starting up our own show? And they said, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, no, this is a really big deal. It's really, really hard. And they're like, no, let's do it. We're with you. And so by the grace of God, I had always had a side job. I worked at the Chicago Board Options Exchange doing webcasting for them. And I called and said, what would you think about me, doing a show on your trading floor? And they said, only because it's you, and because you have such history with us, we will allow you to come in and do this. And I knew it was God opening up the door for me. And if I didn't do it, I was going to regret it for the rest of my life. So my dad came up with the idea of just switching the name around to Business First. And I started up the show. So, but again, I came with a lot of background. It wasn't, some of the basics had already been there.
Yeah.
The show is much different now than it was back in the day, but there's still a lot of similarities.
I mean, that shows two main things. One, the initiative that you had to took a lot of confidence. I mean, it definitely did. And then also, I mean, kind of just showing that everything that you had done kind of happened for a reason and built you up for that moment. And I think that's really amazing.
There were no shortcuts on that one, and I'm so grateful, because it's just it's so funny that I was not afraid until right before we launched. I was like, what have I done? What am I thinking? Who do I think I am to do this? But it was too far down the pike. I had to just get the show on the air and enjoy it every day now. Every day. I love it.
Well, do you mind talking a little bit about how you kind of were able to build that financial confidence? Because I think there are a lot of people out there who might not have been as confident as you, and who maybe lack that a little bit. So
I think, when I first did WebFN, and I was starting up as an anchor and a reporter there. Actually, I started as a reporter. My first day, I came in and they forgot to tell this other reporter that I was basically going to be doing part of his job. And I remember he kind of walked me through how I would be a financial journalist and what to do and how to do it very, very quickly. But I was drawing on my skills as a reporter to be able to get this done. And so I got a call from one of the producers, and they said, will you be ready to do a hit? Are you ready to go live with us? In the next half hour? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And then I went to the bathroom and I said, yes, you are. Just do it. And I came back and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I just figured out, how to call some people on the trading floor and ask the right questions and make a report out of it. And I went on the air. And then the next producer called the next hour and said, would you be in my show? And I said, sure, I will. And I ended up being on the show 5 times that day, my first day. And I was only supposed to do something at the very, very end of the day. And so I think that sometimes you just have to dig down deep within yourself and say, yes, I can.
Right.
And just
Yeah.
dive in,
That's how I felt a little bit today. I was nervous to have, people that I'm going to be interviewing. And then I just kind of looked at myself. I'm like, we're all people. We all have common interests. It's all right.
I know. I always tell myself, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, they don't like you. Okay, next.
And then once I work through that, I'm like, oh, that's okay. I'll just.
Right. Yeah. So last question. I had taken a peek at your LinkedIn profile, and you had written that information is power. Do you mind just elaborating about what you mean about that?
Oh, sure. I mean, the more you know about money and how money works, it's very, very powerful. I think the main message I would probably say to your generation, especially, but to all people really, is try to live a life with the least amount of debt that you possibly can. Understand how to pay bills, understand how to pay them on time, and not have a lot of credit card debt or what have you. Because when you don't have debt, it gives you so much freedom in your life. And when you're making money, you're actually making it and it's going into a savings or you're purchasing things. But when you have a lot of debt, a lot of your money is just going to pay off that debt. And credit card, they can be very, very vicious with high interest rates, and you might end up paying for things again and again and again. So that's the most powerful thing we teach. And also, really, to not be afraid of the stock market. I know there's a lot of scary things that happen, and there are very, very bad things that happen. But one of the mantras on our show is get rich slowly. I know there's a lot of things out there right now, NFTs and crypto and SPACs, and there are people who get very wealthy, but most of those people are at the top and they know what they're doing and they're on the very inside. But people who are not so much on the inside, you may have a few people here and there that are going to make money, but not everybody's going to make money. So I think that that's really important because that's the number one question that people ask me when I go out and they say, what do you do? And I say, oh, I have this, financial news show. The first thing they'll say is, what do you think about cryptocurrency? What do you think about Bitcoin? And I know it seems like, oh no, I'm missing out. It's that FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And so people are like all freaked out, like, oh no, I don't have Bitcoin. It's like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Do you own Microsoft? Do you own Apple?
Right.
Do you own some bonds? Do you own a home? You're doing great. Really, you are. And the other thing is, think about it. When's the last time you heard of one of your friends buying something with a Bitcoin or going out and getting Bitcoin?
Never.
Exactly. So what Bitcoin really
room.
is, it's a trading vehicle. So people make money because they're trading it and they know what they're doing, but it's not like we're using Bitcoin on a daily basis. And I'm not here to diss it, but I'm just saying, just be aware, have that power to know what's really going on with this Bitcoin. Are we really using it, or am I still using my credit card, my checkbook, and the dollars in my wallet to pay for things? So
there's a lot to kind of uncover about it and still a lot to learn. And I'm so open to learning. I think it's just so important to understand all the different ways of investing. And you had said something about how the stock market can be this looming thing, sort of, can be a little bit scary. And that's my biggest thing, is just uncovering it, decoding it, basically just giving definitions of what terms are, because it can be so hard. And I think that Bitcoin is so appealing to my generation, and it's because it's like, it's sexy, it's something that's very, I don't even know, it's very sleek and cool, and kids like it because it's easy and straightforward, and you see all of your favorite influencers talking about Bitcoin, but do you actually really know what it is? And then you look at Yahoo Finance and there's all these beta price to earning ratio, and you're like, oh my God, what is this? I don't know how to handle this. And it's hard, but you have to learn. You have to just like give yourself a little time to learn, and then it's like easy. I don't know. That's my takeaway.
Right. And, some of these things that were started by people who were already very sophisticated traders. So if you're not a sophisticated trader and you want to take this on now, think about that. Are you at that level? Really? Are you? I just think that there's a lot of weirdness right now with, I know YOLO is a really big thing. And so YOLO's getting into trading, where people are like, I'm just going to put all of my savings into trading something like Bitcoin. And it's like, whoa, hold on.
Right.
You might lose all of that. So I just want people to be very, very careful.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of your insight. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me. It was amazing.
I really don't like being on this side of the camera, so
I know.
thank you for getting me on, because other people have asked you that you're actually the first. I've done this in a long time.
I'm low stakes. I'm low pressure, so you don't have to worry that much about me judging you because I'm in this.
You did a great job, and
Thanks.
yeah, just keep going. And I think the future has a lot to offer for you, and I like what you're doing.
Thanks. Have a good one. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching Make Bank with Mia Banks. I hope to see you next time. As always, make sure to check us out at makebankwithmiabanks.com.